What are you doing at the courthouse, Socrates? Why have you left the Lyceum? Surely you're not bringing legal action, as I am.
It's not an action, Euthyphro. Indictment is the word the Athenians use.
What? Someone must have indicted you. I can't believe that you have indicted someone else.
Certainly not.
Then someone has indicted you.
Yes.
Who is he?
I hardly know him, Euthyphro. He's not well known. He's a young man named Miletus from Pithys. Perhaps you have seen him. He has long, straight hair, a nose like a beak, and a downy beard.
No, I don't remember him, Socrates. What's the charge?
The charge? It's a serious one, showing a lot of character in the young man. He shouldn't be despised for that. He says he knows how young people are corrupted and who corrupts them. I suppose he must be a wise man who, seeing that I am anything but wise, has found me out and is going to accuse me of corrupting his young friends. Our mother, the state, is to be the judge of this. He's the only one of our politicians who starts the right way, by cultivating the young. He's like a good farmer, taking care of the sprouts, weeding out those of us who destroy them. That's his first step. Later he will attend to the older branches. If he continues as he has begun, he will be a great public benefactor.
I hope so, Socrates, but I fear that it will be the other way around. In my opinion, he's aiming a blow at a sacred part of the state by attacking you. But how does he say that you corrupt the young?
He makes a strange accusation, one that is surprising on first hearing. He says that I am a poet, a creator of gods. I make new gods and deny the existence of old ones. That's the ground of his indictment.
I understand, Socrates. He's attacking you because of the divine sign which you say occasionally comes to you. He thinks that you're a heretic, and he's bringing you into court for that reason. He knows that such charges are readily accepted, because the world is always resentful of anything new in religion. For example, when I speak in the assembly about divine matters and predict the future, they laugh at me as if I'm insane. Yet every word I say is true. They're simply jealous of us, so we should be brave and not mind them.
Euthyphro, my friend, their laughter is of little importance. You may be considered wise, but the Athenians pay little attention until you make other people wise. Then, for some reason, perhaps as you suggest, from jealousy, they become angry.
I have no desire to test them.
You make yourself scarce and hesitate to share your wisdom, but I have a generous habit of pouring myself out to everyone. I'd even pay for a listener, and the Athenians know that. Therefore, as I was saying, if the Athenians would simply laugh at me, as you say they laugh at you, the time might pass pleasantly enough in the court. But if they take me seriously, then only you prophets can predict the outcome.
I predict that nothing will come of it, Socrates, and that you will win the case. And I think I'll win mine.
What is your case? Are you prosecuting or defending Euthyphro?
I'm prosecuting.
Whom?
You'll think I'm crazy when I tell you.
Why, is he that slippery?
No, not slippery at all, at his age.
Who is he?
My father.
Your father? You must be joking.
I'm not joking.
What's the charge?
Murder, Socrates.
Euthyphro. Most people know so little about what is right and true. It takes an extraordinary person to be able to do it, someone who is really wise.
Yes, Socrates, really wise.
I suppose the person your father murdered was a member of your family. You'd never dream of prosecuting for the sake of a stranger.
I'm amused, Socrates, that you distinguish between someone who is and someone who is not a relative. If you knowingly associate with a murderer, you pollute your own soul. You ought to purify yourself because the pollution is the same in either case. The real question is whether the dead person was justly killed. If so, then your duty is to let the matter alone. But if the killing was unjust, then you should bring charges, even if the murderer lives under the same roof and eats at the same table with you. The dead man was one of my workers who helped us in the fields at Naxos. One day he got drunk, fought with one of our domestic servants, and killed him. My father bound him hand and foot and threw him into a ditch. Then he sent someone to Athens to ask an expert in religious law what he should do. In the meantime, he forgot about him, being under the impression that he was a murderer, and that even if he were to die, it wouldn't matter. And that's what happened. He died from cold, hunger, and the bonds before the messenger returned. Now my father and my family are angry with me for taking the side of the criminal and prosecuting my father. They say that my father did not kill the man, and even if he did, the dead man was a murderer. They think I should ignore the matter because it is unholy for a son to prosecute his father. Socrates, that shows how little they know about the gods' opinions concerning holiness and unholiness.
Good heavens, Euthyphro, do you have precise knowledge of holiness and unholiness and of divine matters? Assuming the circumstances to be as you state them, aren't you afraid that you might be doing something unholy in bringing charges against your father?
Socrates, what distinguishes Euthyphro from other people is his exact knowledge of such matters. What good would I be without that?
With such a remarkable friend as you, Euthyphro, I should become your student before the trial with Meletus begins. Then I'll be able to challenge him, saying that I've always had an interest in religious questions and that I've become your student now that he charges me with religious heresy. Now you, Meletus, I shall say to him, acknowledge Euthyphro to be a great theologian and wise in such matters. If you think that of him, you ought to think the same of me and not have me in court. Otherwise, you should begin by indicting my teacher, the real corrupter, not of the young, but of the old. Myself, whom he instructs, and his father, whom he punishes. If Meletus doesn't listen to me and proceeds, refusing to shift the indictment from me to you, I can't do better than to say in court that I challenged him in this way.
Yes, Socrates. And if he tries to indict me, I'll turn the tables on him. Then the court will have a lot more to say to him than to me.
I know that, my friend, and that's why I'd like to be your pupil. No one, not even Meletus, seems to notice you, but his sharp eyes spotted me at once, and he indicted me. Therefore, I beg you to tell me the nature of holiness and unholiness, which you claim to know so well, and of murder and other such things. What are they? Isn't holiness always the same in every action? And unholiness, isn't that always the opposite of holiness, always identical with itself, one idea that includes whatever is unholy?
That's right, Socrates.
Then help me understand what is holiness and what is unholiness.
Holiness is doing as I'm doing, prosecuting anyone who is guilty of murder, sacrilege, or any other such crime. It makes no difference whether it's your father, your mother, or any other person. Not prosecuting them is unholiness. Socrates, I have an excellent proof of the truth of what I say, a proof I've already given to other people. I mean the truth of the principle that unholy people, whoever they may be, ought not to go unpunished. Don't we all consider Zeus to be the best and most just of the gods? At the same time, we admit that he bound his father Kronos because he devoured his sons. Kronos, too, had castrated his own father Uranus for a similar reason. Yet, when I take action against my father, people are angry with me. They are inconsistent, talking one way about the gods and another about me.
Euthyphro, perhaps this is the reason that I'm being prosecuted. I doubt these stories about the gods, and therefore people think me wrong. But you, who are well informed, approve of them, so I must assent to your superior wisdom. What else can I say, admitting as I do that I know nothing about them? Please tell me whether you really believe that they are true.
Yes, and even more wonderful things of which the world is ignorant.
Do you really believe that the gods fought with each other, that they had dreadful quarrels, battles, and the like, as the poets say, and as you see represented in the works of the great artists? The temples are full of them, and the robe of Athena, which is carried up to the Acropolis at the great Panathenea, is embroidered with them. Are all these tales of the gods true, Euthyphro?
Yes, Socrates. If you would like to hear them, I can tell you many other things about the gods that would amaze you.
No doubt, but do it when we both have more time. Right now, I'd rather hear a more precise answer to my question, what is holiness? So far, you have only told me that it's what you are doing, charging your father with murder.
And that's true, Socrates.
No doubt, but there are many other holy acts.
There are.
But I didn't ask for examples of holiness. I asked you to explain the idea that makes all holy things holy. Do you recall saying that there is one idea that makes unholy things unholy and holy things holy?
I remember.
Then if you tell me what that idea is, I'll have a standard to which I can look and measure the actions of others, whether yours or anyone else's, and say that this action is holy and that one is unholy.
If you like, I'll tell you.
I'd like that a lot.
All right. Holiness is what is dear to the gods, and unholiness is what is not dear to them.
Good, Euthyphro. Now you've given me the kind of answer I wanted, but I'm not sure it's true. No doubt you can prove it to me.
Of course.
Then let's clarify the issue. What is dear to the gods is holy, and what is hateful to the gods is unholy. Isn't that what we said?
Yes, that's what we said.
And we were right.
Yes, Socrates. I think so.
But, Euthyphro, didn't we also say that the gods have conflicts and hatreds and differences?
Yes, we did.
What kind of difference creates hostility and anger? For example, suppose that you and I, my good friend, differ about a number. Do differences of that sort make us enemies and make us hate each other? Wouldn't we simply calculate and bring an end to the dispute?
Of course.
Or suppose we differ about size. Don't we bring an end to the difference by measuring?
True.
And we can end an argument about weight by using a scale.
Sure.
Then what kind of differences make us angry and hostile because they can't be settled like that? You probably can't answer off the top of your head, so I'll suggest that this happens when we disagree about the just and unjust, good and bad, and beautiful and ugly. Aren't these the kinds of things over which you and I and all people differ, quarrel, and become enemies?
Yes, Socrates. Those are the differences over which we become enemies.
What about the gods, Euthyphro? Don't they fight about the same things?
They do.
They differ about good and bad, justice and injustice, right and wrong. If there were no such differences, they wouldn't fight with each other, would they?
You're right.
Doesn't every person love what is beautiful and just and good and hate the opposite?
That's true.
But you also say that the same things are considered by some people to be just and other people to be unjust. They dispute about those differences, and pretty soon they fight and go to war with each other.
Yes, that's right.
Then it appears that the same things are hated by the gods and loved by the gods. They are both hateful and dear to them.
True.
Then according to this argument, the same things are both holy and unholy.
I suppose so.
Then you surprise me, my friend. You have not answered my question. I definitely did not ask about what is both holy and unholy. It appears that what is loved by the gods is also hated by them. Therefore, Euthyphro, in punishing your father, you may be doing what is agreeable to Zeus, but disagreeable to Kronos or Uranus, and what is acceptable to Hephaestus, but unacceptable to Hera. And there may be other gods who have other opinions.
Socrates, I believe that all the gods would agree about punishing a murderer. There would be no difference of opinion about that.
Let's talk about human beings, Euthyphro. Did you ever hear anyone arguing that a murderer or some other kind of criminal ought to be let off?
They are always arguing that, especially in the courts. They commit all sorts of crimes, and there's nothing that they won't say or do to escape punishment.
Do they admit guilt and then say that they ought not be punished?
No, they don't do that.
Then there are some things they don't say and do. They don't dare argue that the guilty ought not be punished. Instead, they deny their guilt, don't they?
Yes.
They don't argue that the person who has done something wrong shouldn't be punished, but they do argue about who has done something wrong, what was done, and when it was done.
That's right.
Isn't the same thing true of the gods? You say that the gods fight about what is just and unjust. Some gods say that others do wrong, and the others deny it. Surely neither the gods nor human beings would ever say that one who has done something wrong should not be punished.
That's true, Socrates, for the most part.
But they fight about the particulars, and this applies both to people and to gods. If they disagree, then it's about a specific act that some say is just and the others say is unjust. Isn't that true?
Quite true.
Then please instruct and inform me. We are considering the case of a servant who has killed someone, is put in chains by the master of the dead man, and dies before the master can learn from those who interpret the law what he ought to do with him. What makes you think that in the opinion of all the gods a servant who is guilty of murder dies unjustly? What makes you think that on behalf of such a person a son ought to take action against his father and accuse him of murder? How could we know that all the gods agree in approving the son's act? Explain that to me, and I'll admire your wisdom.
I can make it clear to you, but it won't be easy.
I understand. You mean that I'm harder to instruct than the judges. Surely you'll prove to them that your father's action is unjust and is hated by the gods.
Of course, Socrates. At least, if they'll listen to me.
They'll be sure to listen if you're a good speaker. Something occurred to me while you were talking to me. I said to myself, what if Euthyphro does prove to me that all the gods consider the death of the servant to be unjust? Does that bring me any closer to knowing the nature of holiness and unholiness? Even if we were to agree that this action is hated by the gods, that doesn't help us understand its holiness or unholiness, because what is hated by the gods is simultaneously pleasing and dear to them. So let's assume that all the gods do condemn and hate such an action. And let's say that what all the gods hate is unholy, and what they all love is holy. And what some gods love and others hate is both holy and unholy, or neither holy nor unholy. Is that how we should understand holiness and unholiness?
Why not, Socrates?
Well, it's fine as far as I'm concerned, Euthyphro, but you should consider whether this will help you teach me as you promised.
I tell you, what all the gods love is holy, and the opposite. What they all hate is unholy.
Should we examine the truth of this claim, Euthyphro, or simply accept it on the basis of authority?
We should examine it, but I'm sure it will pass the test.
I hope we'll soon know the answer. First, tell me, is the holy loved by the gods because it's holy, or is it holy because it's loved by the gods?
I don't understand what you mean, Socrates.
I'll try to explain. We distinguish between carrying and being carried, leading and being led, seeing and being seen. You accept those distinctions, don't you?
I think I do.
And isn't something that's loved different from what loves?
Certainly.
All right. What about something that's carried? Is it in the state of being carried because it's carried, or is there some other reason?
No, that's the reason.
And isn't the same true of what is led and of what is seen?
Yes.
And we would say that a thing is not seen because it is something seen, but that it is something seen because we see it. Something is in the state of being led because of the leading. A thing is in the state of being carried because of the carrying. Perhaps now my meaning is clear, Euthyphro. I'm simply saying that anything that is acting or being acted upon requires a previous action or a previous state of being acted upon. If anything comes into being, it does so because of some previous state of being. Whatever is acted upon is in the state of being acted upon because it is acted upon. Are you with me?
Yes.
What about something that is loved? Isn't it either coming into being or being acted upon?
Yes.
And what we said before holds here as well. Being loved follows the act of loving, not the other way around.
That's right.
Now, what about holiness, Euthyphro? Isn't holiness, according to your definition, loved by all the gods?
Yes.
Because it is holy, or for some other reason?
No, that's the reason.
It's loved because it's holy, not holy because it's loved.
Yes.
But as you said, Euthyphro, what is loved by the gods is being loved because the gods love it.
Certainly.
Then what is loved by the gods is not the same as holiness, nor is holiness what is loved by the gods. They are two different things.
Why do you say that, Socrates?
Because we agreed that the holy is loved because it's holy. It's not holy because it's loved.
True.
But what is dear to the gods is dear to them because it's loved by them, not loved by them because it's dear to them.
Yes.
Dear Euthyphro, if holiness is identical with what is dear to the gods, and holiness is loved because it is holy, then what is dear to the gods is loved because it is dear to the gods. But if what is dear to the gods is dear because they love it, then what is holy because the gods love it. Now, do you see that the two cases are quite different from each other? One of them is the kind of thing that is loved because someone loves it. The other is the kind of thing that is loved because it is lovable. Euthyphro, I asked you about the essence of holiness, but it seems that so far you have named only one of its attributes, namely that it is loved by the gods. You haven't yet explained the true nature of holiness. Please don't hide your treasure, but tell me once more what holiness really is, not whether it is loved by the gods. I have no quarrel with you about that. And also, tell me what is unholiness.
Socrates, I really don't know how to say what I mean. Somehow our arguments seem to get up and walk away, no matter where we put them.
Your words, Euthyphro, are like the statues of my ancestor Daedalus. If I had spoken as you did, you might tell me that the reason my arguments walk away and won't stay put is because Daedalus is my relative. But these are your arguments, not mine, so you must find your own metaphor. They do, as you admit, show a tendency to move around.
No, Socrates, I think your metaphor is quite appropriate. You are the Daedalus who makes the arguments move around. I don't make them move around. If I had my way, they never would have stirred.
Then I must be more skillful than Daedalus. He only made his own creations move, whereas I move those of other people as well. I, too, would like it a lot better if they didn't move. I'd give the wisdom of Daedalus and the wealth of Tantalus to be able to detain them and keep them fixed. But enough of this. You seem to be running out of energy, so I'll try to show you how you might help me understand the nature of holiness. I hope you'll help me. So tell me, isn't what is holy also just?
Yes.
And is everything that is just also holy? Or is everything that is holy just, and only part of what is just holy?
I don't understand, Socrates.
You are as much wiser as you are younger than I am, but your greater wisdom seems to be making you lazy and slow. Please, try a little harder. It's not difficult to understand me. Let me give you an example. The poet Stasinus says, "Of Zeus, the author and creator of all these things, you will not tell. For where there is fear, there is also reverence." I mean the opposite of what the poet said. Would you like me to tell you why?
By all means.
I wouldn't say that where there is fear, there is also reverence. I'm sure that many people fear poverty, disease, and similar evils, but I don't think that they revere the objects of their fear.
True.
But where there is reverence, there is fear, because the person who has a feeling of reverence and shame about performing any action fears and is afraid of acquiring a bad reputation.
That's right.
Then it was wrong to say that where there is fear, there is also reverence. But it was right to say that where there is reverence, there is also fear. There is not always reverence where there is fear, because fear is a broader concept. Reverence is a part of fear, just as odd is part of number, and number is a broader concept than odd. Do you follow me now?
Quite well.
Well, that's the kind of question I had in mind when I asked whether the just is the holy, or the holy the just, and whether justice can exist apart from holiness. Justice is the broader concept of which holiness is only a part. Do you agree?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Now, if holiness is part of justice, then I suppose we can determine what part. If you had pursued the matter in the previous case, for example, you would have asked me what an even number is and what part of number the even is. I would have no problem answering. It is a number that represents a triangle divisible into two equal parts. Do you agree?
Yes.
In the same way, I want you to tell me what part of justice is holiness. Then, being well instructed by you about the nature of holiness and its opposite, I will be able to tell Meletus not to be unjust to me or indict me for impiety.
Piety, or holiness, Socrates, is that part of justice which cares for the gods. Another part of justice cares for human beings.
That's helpful, Euthyphro, but there's one little point about which I'd like to have more information. What do you mean by care? When applied to the gods, care can hardly be used in the same sense as when applied to other things. For instance, horses require care, and not every person is able to take care of them. Only a person skilled in training horses can do that. Isn't that true?
Quite true.
Is it fair to say that the art of horse training is the art of caring for horses?
Yes.
Only the dog trainer is qualified to care for dogs.
True.
So the art of the dog trainer is the art of caring for dogs.
Yes.
And the art of the farmer includes caring for cattle.
That's right.
Would you also say that holiness is the art of caring for the gods?
I would say that.
Isn't this kind of care always designed for the good or benefit of that to which the care is given? In the case of horses, the horse trainer's art benefits and improves them.
True.
Just as dogs are benefited by the dog trainer's art and cattle by the art of the farmer. In all such cases, care is given to benefit and not to harm.
Certainly not to harm.
Is it for their good?
Of course.
Now, does holiness, which you define as the art of caring for the gods, benefit or improve them? Would you say that when you do a holy act, you make any of the gods better?
No, that's definitely not what I mean.
Oh, I didn't think that's what you meant, Euthyphro. That's why I asked you about the nature of this caring. I didn't think you would say that.
You're right, Socrates. That's not my meaning.
Good, but now I must ask you again. What is the care for the gods that you call holy?
It's the kind that servants give to their masters.
I see. It's a kind of service to the gods.
Exactly.
Medicine is also a kind of service that seeks to attain some goal. Can we call it health?
Yes.
And there's an art which serves shipbuilders, and it also seeks some result.
Yes, Socrates. The goal is to build a ship.
There's also the art which serves the carpenter who seeks to build a house.
That's right.
Now tell me about this art that cares for the gods. What work does it seek to accomplish? You must know the answer if, as you say, you of all living people are the one who is best instructed in religious matters.
That's true, Socrates.
Tell me then, please, tell me, what is the glorious work that the gods do with our help as their servants?
Many and wonderful, Socrates, are the works they do.
That's also true of generals, but it's easy to say what that work is. Wouldn't you say that victory in war is their primary service?
Certainly.
Many and wonderful are the works of farmers, but their chief work is to produce food from the earth.
Exactly.
And of the many and wonderful things the gods do, which is the most important?
Socrates, I've already told you it takes a long time to learn all these things. I'll simply say that holiness is learning how to please the gods in word and deed, by prayers and sacrifices. Holiness is the salvation of families and states, just as unholiness, which is displeasing to the gods, is their ruin and destruction.
I think you could have answered my main question in many fewer words, Euthyphro. It's clear to me now that you didn't really want to teach me. Otherwise, why did you avoid giving me the answer when we had reached the crucial point? If you had only answered me, by now I would have learned the nature of holiness from you. The person who asks a question depends on the one who answers. Where that person leads, I follow. So all I can do is ask again. What do you mean by the holy? What is holiness? Do you mean that it is knowledge of praying and sacrificing?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Sacrificing is giving to the gods. Prayer is asking them for something.
Yes, Socrates.
Then holiness is the science of asking and giving.
You understand me perfectly, Socrates.
Yes, and the reason is that I am devoted to your wisdom and give it my full attention. I assure you, nothing you say will be wasted on me. So, please tell me, what is the nature of this service to the gods? Do you mean that we present requests and give gifts to them?
Yes, I do.
The right way to ask is to ask for something we want.
Certainly.
And the right way to give is to give them something they want from us. There would be no point to an art which gives what is not wanted.
Very true, Socrates.
Then holiness is the art of doing business between gods and human beings.
You can use that expression if you'd like.
I only like the truth. So tell me what benefit the gods receive from our gifts. It's clear that they are the givers of every good thing, but how can we give any good thing to them in return is far from clear. If they give us everything and we give them nothing, it would seem that we take advantage of them.
Socrates, do you really think the gods could get any benefit from what we give them?
If not, what sort of gifts are we supposed to give to the gods?
We give them tributes of honor. And, as I was saying, what pleases them.
Holiness, then, is what is pleasing to the gods, but it is not what is beneficial or dear to them.
I would say that nothing is more dear to them.
Then we are back again to your claim, Euthyphro, that holiness is what is dear to the gods.
Absolutely.
When you say that, can you be surprised that your words do not stay put but walk away? How can you accuse me of being the Daedalus who makes them walk away when there is another artist far greater than Daedalus, one who makes them go around full circle, and you are that artist, Euthyphro? Because the argument has now come back around to the same place. You must remember our saying that the holy is not the same as what is loved by the gods. Do you remember that?
I do.
And don't you see that what is loved by the gods is holy, and this is the same as what is dear to them?
True.
Then either we were wrong when we first said that, or we are wrong now.
So it seems.
Then we must begin again and ask about the nature of holiness. I won't stop asking that question until I learn the answer. Please don't be impatient, but give me your full attention and tell me the truth, because if anyone knows the answer, you are that person. Therefore, I'll hold on to you like Proteus until you tell. If you had not known the nature of holiness and unholiness, I'm sure you would never, on behalf of a servant, have charged your elderly father with murder. You would not have run the risk of doing wrong in the eyes of the gods, and you would have been ashamed before the public. I'm sure, therefore, that you know the nature of holiness and of unholiness. Speak, then, Euthyphro. Don't hide your knowledge.
Some other time, Socrates. Right now, I'm in a hurry. I've got to go.
Oh, my friend, will you leave me without hope? I was sure you would teach me about the nature of holiness and unholiness so that I might escape from Miletus and his indictment. I might have proved to him that I had been taught what is right and wrong by Euthyphro. I could have convinced him that I had given up speculations and heresy about divine things in which I was caught through my own ignorance. I could have convinced him that I was about to lead a better life.